So this is video blog 2. I'm back in the city of Arequipa, in the community of Alto Caima, which is an area that I've traveled for so many years. It almost feels like I know this place so well, and yet so many changes have taken place. In many ways, it doesn't look like the community that I'm used to. The church, the influence of our partner, Father Alex, is still very evident, but there's so much change, and a lot of that is driven by the community itself. Their socioeconomic circumstances are not static, they're very dynamic, and with the changing economic tide in Peru, many of the people living in Alto Caima and the areas that collectively make up Alto Caima have been able to leverage a new economic future for themselves. But not everyone. There's still a fair amount of the population, probably 25 to 30%, that live in what's called here extremo pobreza, or extreme poverty and grinding poverty, with the existence of very little in the way of security or a firm foundation financially for a future. And the estimates are now, at least from the data that's been coming out from the World Bank, is that many people who live in that circumstance of extreme poverty will stay in that for generations. There's just doesn't seem to be a pathway for ending it. And so I'm here working on a project. We're working to create a center of excellence for serving youth who are abandoned, oftentimes abandoned because of extreme financial situations in their family of origin, or because of inadequate access to mental health supports for their family, or inadequate access to substance abuse treatment programs for their family. In any event, the family becomes fractured. Children oftentimes are the most vulnerable when that fracturing occurs, and they become abandoned. And they're living in homes, and one of the homes that we're working with here is to create a center of excellence. How can you work with children to give them the greatest opportunity for a solid, independent, fulfilling future, happy future that's focused on health and home and community and purpose? And so this project is really about creating relationships. The first step is essentially creating a firm infrastructure for the institution around leadership, around the staffing model, around building all of the policies and procedures that make it likely that whatever program we institute, sharing best practices or advancing promising practices from around the world, they'll stick, and that staff will have an opportunity to really utilize those best practices. The next phase is really about ensuring that there's a firm training pathway, a continuous training pathway, and a retraining pathway to help staff really gain access to the knowledge and skills that have, in research and in anecdote, through trial and error, been shown to be most effective when working with the most marginalized kids. And then the last step is to actually measure the impact of this project on the youth themselves, recognizing that it's really difficult because many of the kids will come in and out of the programs pretty frequently. They're not in for an extended period. They'll come in and they'll go out 6 months later. They'll come back in a month later and they'll go out again 6 months later. So we have to figure out a plan on how you can measure effectiveness when oftentimes the objective of the project is really difficult to fully measure. But ultimately what we're trying to do is create a relationship that can, in its own terms and with its own capacity, generate better outcomes for children. I think that's what we're all about. That's what HBI is all about. That's, I think, the essence of international work. It's relationship. And that's hard. That is slow, grinding work. And that's not very sexy work. But it has the greatest impact. And it is the work of, I think, the truly committed international organizations. And it's measured in years and not days. And so that's the reason I've been coming back to this community now for 25, 24 years, and why I'll keep coming back, and why the relationships we have with the churches on the ground and the people who are here every day are so critical. Thanks. Let me know what you think. put your comments below, or email us at info, I-N-F-O, at Help Bridges International, HBINT.org. That's info at HBINT.org. Thanks.